Well, good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for attending tonight. My name is James Baker. I'm the Public Services Director and City Engineer for City Kalamazoo. We're presenting today the 2025 Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Project Plan. Specifically, one project within that project plan, we're going to be talking about Pump Station 5 and 14 upgrades. I've got just a real quick sheet I want to read through here. These are some very important items that we want to make sure we cover. Following this, I'm going to be going into a presentation that goes into some more detail on some of these things. So at this point, we'll open the public meeting and we'll go ahead and get started. There is a sign-in sheet in the back for anybody that hasn't signed in yet. That is available. You don't have to sign in if you don't want to, but that is an option. The City of Kalamazoo has prepared a 2025 project plan for upgrades to Pump Station 5 and 14. These projects will improve drinking water quality and ensure continued compliance with drinking water standards. The project plan is part of the planning documents for the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, EGLE, Low Interest Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Loan Program. A public meeting is a regulatory requirement for this project plan. According to EGLE regulations, this public meeting must describe the following 4 items. Number 1, water quality problems to be addressed by the project and the alternatives that were considered. The city operates 13 point of entry stations that utilize groundwater from 90 wells. Each well and pump station has various treatment technologies to remove pollutants of concern. Pump Station 5 and 14 have detectable iron and PFAS levels that should be mitigated to protect human health. Additional water treatment is recommended at Station 5 and 14 to remove iron and PFAS. Alternatives were reviewed to identify a cost-effective approach that allows the city to maintain reliable drinking water service and meet drinking water permit requirements. The alternatives which were considered for this project were alternative 1, Pump Station 5, consolidated water treatment plant. So that consolidates treatment for both Station 5 and 14 at one consolidated plant. The second alternative considered was a station water treatment plant at 5 and at Station 14. So that's 2 water treatment plants. And then a third alternative, which was considered, was a do-nothing alternative in which no improvements were made. Our recommendation of these alternatives would be the Pump Station 5 and 14 consolidated plan, which provides treatment for both Station 5 and 14 at one consolidated treatment plant. The recommended alternatives, including capital costs and a cost breakdown by project component. The recommended alternative options and capital costs for improvements are described as follows. The selected alternative 1, which I discussed, was Pump Station 5 and Station 14, consolidated with water treatment at one site at Station 5 for a probable cost or engineer's opinion cost of $51,304,000 and an SRF eligible cost of $51,304,000. The project financing and cost to users, including the proposed method of project financing and estimated debt retirement, and the proposed change in the typical residential customer. Based on financing the eligible portion of these projects through the low interest Eagle Drinking Water State Revolving Loan Fund Program, the estimated total cost of the typical residential customer in the city of Kalamazoo would be approximately $13.69 to $13.74 per quarter. So that's $13.69 or $13.74 per quarter if our estimates range between those values. The portion of the project that is not eligible for SRF funding would be paid from cash on hand and will not impact the quarterly rate of residence. There is no ineligible amount on this project. The Fiscal Year 2025 Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Project Plan includes 3 projects. So this includes our Richland Ross Township Water Main Extension Project, City of Kalamazoo Lead Galvanized Service Replacement Project, And this project, the Station 5 and 14 Consolidated Treatment project, for a total cost of $91,304,000. The totally quarter user charge for all three of these projects under this one project plan is estimated at $22.38 per quarter. That equates to approximately $7.46 per month in user charge increases above where they are currently today. The anticipated social and environmental impacts associated with the recommended alternative and the measures that will be taken to mitigate adverse impacts. Short-term adverse impacts associated with construction activities would be minimal, and we would be able to mitigate these impacts in comparison to long-term benefits. So, we have very long-term benefit to public health and drinking water with this proposed project, and it would have some very short-term impacts that could be mitigated. These short-term impacts would include tree removals, some minor traffic disruptions, and potential dust and noise from the project itself, although work will be done to mitigate those impacts. No long-term negative impacts are anticipated. No historical, archaeological, or tribal resources will be affected during these projects. Surface water and groundwater quality will not be negatively impacted by the construction of the proposed projects. No floodplains will be impacted. There may be wetlands along Skipper's Lane. However, a joint permit will be obtained as the design progresses to ensure that no impacts are made to the wetland, or if so, any impacts will be mitigated through the appropriate joint permit as obtained from EGLE. Additional reviews in the appropriate environmental agency will be contacted during project design to mitigate disturbances to any listed species. Loss of recreational area may be a concern for the community. However, that does not apply to this project. There's no loss of recreation area, as there are no areas of the project site which are currently open to recreation. The City Commission must adopt the project plan prior to June 1st, or prior to June 1st, 2024. Project plan submittal deadline date is June 1st, 2024. Public attendance must be noted, and public comments must be noted for and publicly addressed. So given our limited audience that we have at this time, I just note that there's no members of the public in the room, and so we don't have any questions at this time. Just a reminder that the project plans are available at the city website, www.kalamazooCity.org, and that a copy of the project plan is also available at the city clerk. Excuse me. And this time we'll transition into the presentation that we have. Certainly, this meeting is recorded, and we'll have a transcript and a recording available so that folks may be able to access this in the future between now, the project plan submittal, and when we plan to move forward with design. So just stepping into this, we've got a brief agenda in front of us today. We'll talk about the background of this project, some project descriptions and justifications. We'll talk through our examined alternatives, and we'll focus again on cost and debt repayment, as well as the impacts and mitigation. And we'll also have opportunity for public comment if we're joined by any audience member. So just some broad background. The city is applying for drinking water state revolving loan funds, and which is a low interest term financing program, which will allow the city to fund or finance important updates to water infrastructure. This is a federal program that is administered at the state level, and to be considered for this program, we must submit a project plan. So that's the activities that we're embarked upon. Now this project plan is available. We reference it. It's available online and available at the city clerk's office, and that this public meeting and presentation is part of that project plan. That project plan will then be submitted to the state, scored and prioritized based on need. There's a fixed amount of money available for lending each year, so it's important that the city submit the project plan and that we're competitive against other cities across the state of Michigan. Sorry, I think I skipped that. All right, back on track here. Sorry about that. So again, part of the requirement to submit the DWSRF project plan is that the public can review and comment on the plan. So that's one of the reasons why we're here tonight. I did want to note that this DWSRF project plan submittal for fiscal year 25 includes 3 projects in total. It's the Richland Ross Township Water Main Extension Plan, it's the Station 5 and 14 upgrades plan, and it's the replacement of lead galvanized water services plan. So tonight we're going to really focus on that Station 5 and 14 consolidation treatment plan. The projects included in the project plan were chosen based on the city's asset management plan and capital improvement program. City staff scored these projects to find really the top priority projects within our asset management plan and within our capital improvement plan. So these projects represent are the most important projects to the city within our capital improvement plan. So we've got a table in front of you. You know, one of the items that we talked about was the importance to increase water quality improvements to the public and to address water quality problems. So one of the challenges with Station 5 and Station 14 is local PFAS contamination. When I say PFAS, I'm referencing PFOA, PFOS, PFXHS, PFNA, PFHXA, PFBS, and Eugenex compounds as well. Michigan has enacted an MCL in August of 2020 to set and establish maximum contaminant levels by law. The EPA has just recently announced an update to that. So EPA has more stringent enforceable MCLs now in place. And with the more stringent EPA MCLs in place, Kalamazoo is an exceedance of PFOS requirement by EPA. That EPA requirement under the enforceable MCL is 4 parts per trillion for PFOS, and Station 14, the highest average result is 4.2, so slightly above that. We also want to note, you see here in the map in front of you, the red triangle provides the general location of station number 5. The blue triangle is the location of the known Part 201 PFAS contamination site. So as you look at kind of these 2 previous slides, you've got an understanding that Station 14 is currently in exceedance of the EPA requirement for PFOS. You also see that Station 5 is near within 1,000 feet of a known Part 201 PFAS contamination site. So with that, certainly we've got both demonstrated facts and future concern for the future water quality and reliability of Station 5 and 14. Well, we'll get some more justification in terms of timing and overall system need. Station 5 was constructed in 1914, is due for replacement. We're now in 2024, so that station has been in service for 110 years, certainly due for replacement. Station 14 was constructed in 1958, it's also due for replacement. Again, Station 14 production water exceeds new EPA PFOS requirement by MCL. Station 5, again, located within 1,000 feet of a known PFAS contamination site. Station replacement and treatment are needed at both sites. And, we also wanted to note that groundwater supplies that have iron and manganese present must be removed prior to PFAS treatment. And that's due to fouling or failure of the PFAS removal technology if the iron and manganese is not removed from the process first. Continuing on the discussion of project justification, Kalamazoo is a system. I referenced Kalamazoo Public Water Supply, WSSN 03520. Essentially, that's the Kalamazoo system. It's the regional system that covers the entire metro area of Kalamazoo, including many of our neighboring townships. This system was built and expanded over the years following a model of resiliency and reliability versus redundancy, meaning that we had many stations that could contribute flow into the system, and that any one of those stations could be taken offline, and the system was reliable because of the overall redundancy. However, as we fast forward through changes in regulatory standards, including Michigan's lead and copper rule, PFAS regulations, not only from the state of Michigan, but now from EPA, as well as local level service demands, this has all changed in terms of water quality, our ability to control the accuracy and precision across many redundant, often function obsolete stations, has now contributed to reduced reliability. So as we have many stations, the water quality has variability across those stations. Those stations lack modern treatment technique. They also lack, controls and optimization. And so our ability to control those stations with the precision needed to comply with Michigan lead and copper rule, as well as Michigan and the EPA criteria for PFAS has become increasingly challenged. Again, a milestone requirement of our administrative consent order with EGLE in 2021 was to study a plan to reduce the points of entry into the system via a consolidation plan. In the statement that I read earlier on, we talked about Kalamazoo with 13 point of entry treatment stations. That is already reduced from where we were a few years ago. We had started with 16 stations as recently as 2019, but those stations were taken offline due to PFAS risk within the capture zone of those stations. So let's talk about the proposed station consolidation and treatment plan. We're looking at, we described this in the alternatives, we could have station treatment at 14, we could have station treatment at 5, so 2 independent treatment sites to treat both iron, manganese, and PFAS at each site independently. However, that was deemed costly, and that was also deemed to be not in line with our consolidation plan. So the proposed project would consolidate the raw water from 14, pump it over to Station 5, and then together the raw water from both 5 and 14 would be completed at the Station 5 site. So this slide shows you that route from on the left where you see the lake that's near where Station 14 is, and then that would flow to the south, which is to the right. So sorry, the lake is on the left. The flow would be to your right, which is to the south to go to Station 5. So that red polygon that's on the right side of the sheet there along East Michigan and Skippers, that would represent the site for Station 5 consolidated treatment. Where you see that lake there, that Spring Valley Lake, and you see that rectangle, that represents where Station 14 is at. North is to the left, south is to the right. So now we're zoomed in here at this, looking at this slide. This provides kind of a overview pictorial image of what the consolidated footprint would look like at Station 5. You've got Lincoln Ave or East Michigan along the left side of the paper, and Skipper's Lane that runs across the top. So you also have the city's leaf compost site kind of below that, that's kind of imaged out. So again, looking through the alternatives, no action was looked at. That was not viable. That would not improve water quality. That would not address iron, manganese, and PFAS, which we described to be water quality concerns. We looked to optimize existing systems, and existing water supply system is performing as well as it can. Additional staffing, staff training, operational changes are not likely to improve water quality. We need treatment, and the only way to get treatment for PFAS is to build it. Again, we looked at regionalization. Kalamazoo water supply is already a regional system, so there wasn't really an opportunity for us to partner with another community to address our treatment needs. This is something that needs to be addressed within the Kalamazoo system. And again, we evaluated net present worth of all the alternatives to compare the lowest net present value over the 20-year planning period, which is included in the project plan. Many environmental evaluations were considered. Major environmental impacts are not expected to occur from this project. These alternatives, these evaluations are discussed in the alternatives and located in the project plan. Getting into the details of proposed costs, at this time we're estimating pump station 5 and 14 consolidated treatment upgrades to cost $51,304,000. We also summarized the cost of the other projects, including the Richland Ross water main extensions, $27 million, Kalamazoo lead and galvanized service replacements, $13 million. The total fiscal year 2025 DWSRF project plan, this is all the projects, is estimated at $91,304,000. Excuse me, a bit of a tickle. Just going to talk about these projects and where they fit in with our overall debt service plan and capital improvement project plan. These projects are included within our long-range capital plans. Our current capital program anticipates annual rate increases in the range of 6 to 9%. That's just to give us some context of where we are in overall planning. Certainly, we really need grant award and/or principal forgiveness for these projects. That would certainly help reduce the impact to ratepayers. The actual impact to households will be based on usage, and actual impact will be based on where we come in terms of funding opportunities if we are successful with this project plan request, and if we are successful in any state and federal grant amounts that may be applied. So looking at this project and assuming a 20-year loan, 2.5% interest rate, the estimated rate increase would be about $7.94 per RU per month. And again, that's for those costs are what's estimated for the station 14 and 5 consolidated treatment. The actual cost would be based on usage and those other factors. We did also want to reference those other projects as well. Richland Township and Ross Township water main extension, that would have an estimated per RU per month cost of about $3.39. And the Kalamazoo lead galvanized service replacement would have an estimated cost of $1.64 per RU per month. And RU is residential equivalent unit, essentially represents the typical household cost on a monthly basis in accordance with this report. So if we looked at all the fiscal year 2025 projects, we're looking to include the Station 5 and 14 consolidation, the Richland Ross Township water main extensions, and the City Kalamazoo lead galvanized service replacement. The estimated cost would be about $12.93 per residential equivalent unit per month, based on those factors of a 20-year loan, 2.5% interest rate, and we did note that the actual impact to a household would be based on your usage. Impacts and mitigation, there's a whole bunch of environmental, public health, and other areas that we examined, from archaeological and history, geological, cultural, recreational, water quality, air quality, wetlands, coastlands, floodplains. We also looked at short-term things like construction impacts, natural wild scenic rivers, endangered species, primarily unique agricultural land. So some of these may not apply to this project specifically when we're talking about Station 5 and 14 consolidation, but every one of these items was looked at. Looking at some impacts specific to construction, We did want to highlight that this project will require tree removals. Tree removals will be needed for the new facilities at the Station 5 footprint. There will also be tree removals along that force main route that goes from Station 14, from that raw water pipeline. It goes from Station 14 to Station 5. Construction also may impact traffic. It may also impact dust and other features, but that will get mitigated through soil erosion, sedimentation control permits, and other best management practices. So at this point, I've concluded the presentation, and we'll have it open for public comment. Fortunately, we don't have anybody in the audience, so at this point, we're going to conclude the meeting.